Welcome to the White Glove demo for Settlers of America Trails to Rails. This Catan Histories game explores the U.S. westward expansion using the tried-and-true Catan mechanics mixed with a train game. Remember when you tried to combine Catan with a train game, Glover? That was a rough weekend. I told you shouldn't eat leftovers after 2 weeks in your fridge. Settlers of America shows the United States in Catan layout, with hexes that produce resources. There are 5 resources in the game: lumber, grain, cattle, ore, and coal. There's also gold. Most of the hexes already have numbers, but a few have question marks on them. At the beginning of the game, place a number token on all of the single question mark spaces on the east side of the map. Before the game begins, you will set up your railroad turntable. Each player has a place to put their city pieces and a corresponding goods cube. You also place a goods cube in the center of the turntable. For 3 players, you use all 9 spots. For 4 players, use the 7 light-colored spaces. You win the game by delivering all of your goods cubes. For your first game, you use the recommended starting positions and resources that are shown in the rulebook. Advanced players may take turns placing their starting cities on the board. Either way, you'll start the game with 3 cities east of the Mississippi River on the board. You will also have 1 rail segment and your first locomotive on the board next to one of your cities. Along with your starting resources, you get 3 gold. We're ready for the game to begin. As with regular Catan, you roll dice at the beginning of your turn and give resources based on the roll to players with cities next to hexes showing the sum of the dice. If you do not collect any resources, you get 1 gold. If you roll a 7, move the outlaw to any hex and steal a resource from a player with a city next to that hex. That hex does not produce while the outlaw is on it. On your turn, you may trade resources with other players, use gold to buy resources, and exchange resources 3 for 1 with the bank. You also buy and build with your resources. The building cost card shows the things you can use resources for and how much they cost. Settlers cost 1 cattle, 1 grain, and 1 wood. Place a settler next to one of your cities. By paying a grain, you may move a settler up to 3 intersections. If a settler is on an empty city spot on the board at the end of your turn, it becomes a city, and your settler is returned to use again. If you build a city next to a hex that has a double question mark on it, find the numbered chip furthest east, going from the top to the bottom of each row. Take the first token you come to and move it to the new hex. The hex without a number chip now produces nothing. If you build on a coastal city spot with a gold symbol, you get as much gold as is shown. You use gold to move your locomotive on another player's rails, and you can buy any one resource for 2 gold, twice per turn. Development cards cost 1 cattle and 1 coal. You may buy as many as you have resources for, but you can only use 1 per turn, and not on the same turn that you buy them. Rails cost 1 lumber and 1 ore. You can build rails on hex sides adjacent to your own rails or your cities. You can build through another player's city if you have rails on one side of the city. Trains cost 1 ore, 1 lumber, and 1 coal. You start the game with 1 on the board and have a second one to build. You may also pick up and relocate a locomotive by paying these resources. Locomotives travel up to 3 rail segments per 1 coal resource spent. You may travel on another player's track, but it costs 1 gold per turn that you travel on them. Locomotives deliver goods cubes. If you have cubes in the middle of your turntable, they can be delivered by moving your train next to an opponent's city that hasn't received a delivery yet. Place your cube on the spot next to the city. You're now 1 step closer to victory. After you take your turn, each player in clockwise order may build with the resources they have in hand. They can't move locomotives or settlers, or play development cards. If you place your last goods cube on the board, you win. And that's an overview of Settlers of America. It's a fresh and exciting take on both Catan and rail games. Yeah, that was pretty exciting too, Glover. It's a good thing you couldn't get to both the gas pedal and the steering wheel at the same time.